Hello, audience. Welcome to How to Develop Your Psychic Connections and New Predictions for the Future, which is featured on the Thrive Healers Network. And please welcome our guest. And guest, would you please tell us who you are and what you do?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jaqueline Kuhn, and I am a channeler of angel energy. I have three archangels that are my guides, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, and Archangel Metatron. And they are my guides to helping people, helping me discern a person's soul's purpose, and help me develop a program to help my clients balance their lives by relying on the angels, their energy, and their guidance.
That is really, really amazing. When I saw that you channel and work with the angels, I had to have you just because I don't hear that often. I hear like people have connections and all that jazz, but I don't hear them have as deep a connection and a use through them as a modality, if that makes any sense. So I had to have you to explain more about it. And speaking of explain, can you explain what it means to be claircognizant, clairaudience, and clairsentient, and how these abilities work together with your spiritual practice or with your spirit?
Yeah. Yeah, so claircognizant means I know things. I get downloads into my head. I get ideas that I have no idea where they came from, and I know things that most people wouldn't know. I know things about people immediately when I meet them. I get impressions, and that's kind of claircognizance. It's a knowing where there's no logical reason to know that information. Clairaudient is I hear things. I get messages through song. I have learned
Hmm.
that my team, my angel and spirit team, send me messages through songs. And there are songs that pop into my head at strange hours of the day and night, songs I've never heard of before, and I have to go look them up and try to figure out what was that message. But I hear things. And sometimes I hear little whisperings in my ear from time to time too. And then clairsentient is I feel energies, I feel things. I am known throughout my circle, my inner circle especially, as the person that I can identify the creep factor. I know when I meet someone if they're a good person or not. I mean, I don't even have to touch them. I know from someone's energy what they're all about. I read energy. There are some people who I can't be around because their energy is too negative, too damaging. So clairsentient is about energy and reading feelings and knowing where people are at. And I use them in my practice to help people get at what is really going on with their lives. Um, the other day, I was doing a reading with a person and she asked me a question, but my guides were telling me that's not what she needed to focus on. So I kind of flipped the tables on her and said, "Hey, what about your daughter's baby?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, that's really what's on your mind, right?" And she was totally thrown because I was reading her energy. I got the message, the baby, the baby. That even though she didn't ask me that, that wasn't what she wanted. I was told that that was what I needed to focus on with her.
Mhm. That's really, really awesome. I love that you gave that explanation. And I probably should have asked this first, after you talked about your angels and the connection with your angels. So to kind of rewind a little bit, I want to ask first, how did you develop a connection with these angels, and how did you understand how to use them as a modality of healing?
Yeah, I that is a great question. So, I was raised Catholic,
Mhm.
and as a Catholic, we are told to pray to angels, pray to saints, to those that are departed. And I've always felt as a little child connected to guardian angels and angels. I really always felt a connection that there was always an angel by my side. And then fast forward to 2019. Um, and I actually had an encounter with a psychic, Delissa Hawking, who sort of reinforced my belief in where, in what I can do. And then what actually happened was I was working on developing my gifts, and I was asking just in general, who my guides are, what are my spirit guides, and immediately Michael, the archangel, came forward. And he's been coming forward ever since. And then when I was sick and Archangel Raphael came forward. He's like, I'm here for you. And being a Virgo, I then learned about all the archangels and their zodiac signs, not realizing that Archangel Metatron has been with me all along. So it was really in 2019, late 2019, early 2020, that I understood where my gifts come from and who these messengers are by working with other psychics to do the inner work to figure out who really were giving me these messages. But all my life, I have always felt a connection to the angels. Now I just know how to talk to them. I know what their purposes are. I know when to have them help my clients and how to coach my clients into how to work with their angels that and their guardian angels so that they can reap the benefits of having a relationship with the angels.
I love that. And you kind of alluded to my next question. I was going to ask you, how does one cultivate a relationship with the angels, and understand the difference between themselves, their ego, and the angels speaking to them?
Yeah, so the to develop a relationship, the first thing you have to do is ask.
Mm.
Angels, like any divine being, cannot interfere in our lives unless we ask them. It's divine law, can't interfere unless we ask. So the first thing is we just have to ask them. And I think the way to differentiate where the message and the power is coming from is I tell people if you believe that they are there, you believe in them, you talk to them, and you become aware of your surroundings, things happening by chance. They're not really by chance. You ask for help in a situation, you call out to an angel for help, and someone comes to help you, right? It's this cause and effect. Once you reach out and you see the result, that result is the universe through the angels bringing you what you wanted. And it's really having a dialogue, but that you believe in. You have to truly believe it's going to work. They know when you're just doing lip service. You truly have to believe. And yeah, ask. And meeting you, I was doing a prayer asking for how do I expose who I am and expose my business to more people. Literally that next day, I got the introduction to you, that very next day. I'm
That is
like, okay,
insane. I love that so much. The synchronicity of it is just delicious. I love that.
yeah, yeah, it works. You have to believe it works. The energy of the universe is there for us. Angels were created for us, for
Exactly.
humans. The archangels and guardian angels are the order of angels that were created for humans to help us while we are on this journey on this earth, to help our spirits and our souls while we're in these meat suits, because it's just a very difficult place to be on earth. And
Mhm.
they were literally created by, I believe, God, some source, whatever you want to call it. That is who created them for us.
I just saying that just completely totally threw me off. I was going to ask you another question, but in that second, gone. Just so I'll go to the next question. I'll say, when you channel angel energy, how do you differentiate between your own thoughts and the message you receive from the angelic realm, which we just practically spoke about, but I'm wondering if you can give a more in-depth kind of how to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the first way I can differentiate is when I hear them, they're speaking in a pattern, a speech pattern, a tone that's not my own, right? I recognize that from when I hear things, the audience piece of it. Um, the claircognizant piece of it really is the having something pop into your head that you have no idea where it came from. When things happen to you and they pop, when you first ask for help, um, so when you ask for help and then things start popping into your head, um, that is what is coming from them or someone else in your spirit team, because sometimes you may ask for help for the angels. They may bring someone else from your spirit team, but it's not you. It's just pops in your head, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's so obvious. But that's not coming from you. The human brain doesn't work in boom, little pops. The human brain works by thinking things through and working things through. And so those pops are coming literally from the angelic or the other spirit realm. Um, and then in when I really am connected, oftentimes when I get into a really, really deep meditation, I sense that they are with me. I feel that they are with me. Um, a really good example of that was I was doing a um, a meditation and I was in a hotel room. Literally, I was on the road. I travel a lot, and I was in a hotel room by myself. And during the meditation, there I felt some loving, protective presence next to me.
Mm.
They were there. I felt the energy. I know the energy was there. It was loving. It was protected. And when I got out of the meditation, that energy was gone. And I guess when I reflect back on it, while you're in meditation, when you're that deep, you're very vulnerable. Anybody could have come into the hotel room. I mean, you're very vulnerable. And my one of my guardian angels was there to protect me so that I could do that meditation that I needed to do to, purify and feed my own soul. So it's really being able to discern um energies, the warm, loving energy, discern the messages that come in and understand that our brains don't just pop answers like that. And then when things come to you and you hear something and it's not in your voice or not in your word pattern or speech pattern, like they may say something. I've even had to look some words up that pop that I hear. I'm like, ah, what the heck? What is that? I've even had to like Google it, Google the meaning because it's not a word that I knew or that I would normally use. So that's kind of how you know that it's not coming from you.
Thank you for giving me that in-depth answer. I only asked it just because I feel like a lot of people struggle when they have when they're connecting with deities or powerful beings or ascended masters or the source or God or Jesus or all that jazz. I think people question it a lot because they believe in a way that they're undeserving of this connection. So it leads them down like this kind of tunnel or drain of doubt, as in like, is this real? Am I really experiencing this? Um, so yeah, you explained it really well, and thank you so much for explaining it so in depth.
Yeah, I did have those doubts when I first really started developing my gift. And it didn't take me long to actually validate that the messages I was receiving were what they needed to be. And it was really through quote unquote practicing on people, not charging. They weren't paying clients, but they were practicing. And there was one woman in particular, I I was adamant. I said, no, you are not moving until July. It was like March. Like, no, you're not going to move till July. Don't even worry about it. Don't think about it. It's July. That's everything I'm hearing is July. And come July, sure and above, she moved. That was, she was stressing out over it. That's like, I told you. I mean, like I told you. And um, she thought I was crazy. Sometimes I thought I was crazy, but I'm like, no, I have to be confident in what I am being told is what needs to be told. And I think that's when you're first finding out about your gifts and you're first developing them, you just have to have the belief that no matter how crazy it is the message that is coming through to you that you're being asked to tell someone, you have to do it. It's
Yeah.
your role as the channeler to say it exactly the way it's coming through. And it may seem crazy to you, and it may seem crazy to them at the time, but that's the message that needs to be heard. And that does take practice and that does take confidence, because sometimes it's totally off the wall.
Yeah. You're right. I want to ask this question. It's a little bit controversial, but I want to ask, are you able to read yourself and see into your own future in any aspect, like financially, love-wise, time frames, all that jazz? Are you able to see yourself, and what are your beliefs around other people being able to do this? Because I hear a lot in the healing field, the psychic field, that psychics aren't able to read themselves. So I'm wondering if you can do yourself, and what do you believe about that kind of, I guess, belief? I want to say, I wanted to call
Yeah.
it myth, but
Yeah. Um, kind of, sort of. So, I absolutely believe that when we try to read ourselves, we do have our personal energy of how we want it to come out
Mhm.
coming through often. I really do believe that. But then I also believe that we all have this inner knowingness, right? We all have this inner knowingness of what we should and shouldn't do. And that's what I rely on more than anything else. And I don't know if the folks who are watching this or if you have done you stand up and you ask yourself, show me yes, show me no, your body moves in a way, one way for yes, one way for no. That is your inner essence knowing what's right for you. I use that all the time. I use that from in the morning saying, what stones do I need to wear to protect me? What energy today, right? Do I need this? Do I need that? During COVID, do I need to take my, immune my immune supplement today or am I okay, right? I mean, I used that inner yes or no to help guide me in doing things, and I fully trust in that. But when we're talking a 6-month prediction or forecast, I go to an expert. I
Okay.
don't do my own because I truly think that I'm somewhat interjecting my own wants and
Mhm.
needs into
Yeah.
that. So I'll go to someone. And I even go to experts in the field to do my own energy work, right? To do my own healing. I don't try to heal myself because I don't always know what I need to heal. So I also often will go to other experts
Mhm.
um, for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I say the same thing. I've noticed that I'm able to heal myself, but I'm not always able to find the very real root of the issue. So I think as a healer, we have to go to others because there's our own ego and our own understanding of ourselves that gets in the way of us truly finding the root. And also, we have to understand that the subconscious doesn't always want us to find the root because it likes to stay comfortable. So yeah, I love that you said that because it tells people that no matter how powerful you are as a healer, you do have to find help. So, thank
Gotta
you.
find you gotta find your own people that can that can help you. It's just kind of like doctors don't take care of themselves, right? They go to
Mhm.
other doctors. The doctor, a surgeon's not going to do surgery on themselves. They
That
can't
is
do
very
that.
true. Yeah. So I want to ask, are there any specific rituals or practices you follow to prepare yourself for a channeling session
I
or
do.
to enhance your connection?
I do.
Okay.
I have a crown of smoky topaz to get me grounded.
Mm.
And I wear that because that keeps me grounded. In order to communicate to the angels, you have to be grounded so that you can raise your vibration and connect with that higher energy. So I do have a headband literally of smoky smoky quartz, not topaz, smoky quartz. Yeah. A headband of smoky quartz that really helps to keep me grounded. I do that. I do deep breathing and meditation, and then I have a ritual of calling them in for their help and
Mhm.
inviting them into the session. And I ask that my client invite them in as well, if they're comfortable doing so, so that the connection is more powerful.
I love that.
And then every day, the other piece of it, it's not just when I'm doing a reading. Every morning when I get up, I ask the angels to be with me that day and help me through whatever I need help with. Every night before I go to bed, I thank them for the day. I thank them for the good and the bad and ask them to help me get a good night's sleep. So I actually try to incorporate them into my life so that when I do need to call on them, it's not like too far, they're not too far away. It's really more specifically to help me in this, get me answers in this specific situation.
Mm. I love that. It's like you keep communication with them all the time just so that connection is never weakened or broken. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So have you ever encountered any challenges while channeling?
Yes. Um, I have to be very careful to protect myself through the energy of Archangel Michael because I have had negative energies come in um, during sessions. If I haven't properly protected myself, it's real. There is evil out there. Evil energy is real, and I do have to protect myself. And ask Archangel Michael to protect me. And a couple of times I've had to ask Archangel Michael to dispel the
Oh,
evil
wow.
from yeah, I felt it, I saw it. It actually happens and I know that it's out there.
Mhm.
So that has absolutely happened. The other thing that has happened that was really a challenge was when I was doing a reading, and what I knew was going to happen was really sad for the person. And the the way we deliver messages and the way we need to coach people to get through sadness is really hard. It's really, really hard. And in this particular case, I knew that if this woman's fiance was going to continue on the life course, he was going to have some really bad health issues. So I had to dig deep and I had to ask for guidance in how do I talk to this woman? How do I tell her what she needs to hear? So that she would listen, so that she doesn't get afraid. But yeah, so when I get messages that are really difficult and not good news. I get a lot of good news, but when there's not good news, it's really about how do I communicate it in a way that doesn't scare the person off, but that gives them concrete, actionable ways to either overcome it, or avoid it, and or deal with it.
That was gonna be one of my next questions was how do you I guess I would say mitigate difficult sessions, like giving difficult information, but you relatively answered it. So I want to ask about your angel connections. It seems like you work primarily with one angel. Um, so I'm wondering, in session, do you specifically work with one angel or do you call in multiple angels to do um I honestly want to say like an an all-encompassing healing with all the angels you have a connection with.
Yeah, so um I when I open up a session, I bring in Archangel Michael for protection. I
Mhm.
bring in Archangel Raphael for healing, and I bring in Archangel Metatron as the keeper of the Akashic record because he knows our soul's purpose. It's written, and he's the keeper of the record. And I bring those three in at the beginning of every session to help me guide my way. And then I use a special tarot deck. It's Angel Tarot. It's very different from a Rider-Waite tarot, and each major arcana is an archangel, is represented with an archangel.
Mhm.
And when I pull a major arcana, I know that that archangel is coming forth with energy to want to be seen and heard to help. And then I start um, just talking about what's coming into my head from that archangel. So it's really about uh, protection, healing, and helping me understand what's in the Akashic record for a person by those three, and then using the modality of Angel Tarot when other archangels are wanting to come forth, allow them to through that modality. And uh, Oftentimes there's more than one that'll come forth. Um, Archangel Haniel is divine feminine. Archangel Michael is divine masculine. And so oftentimes I may get four and they're in multiple on multiple cards, and oftentimes I'll get, multiples of them coming up. It's like, okay, I need to take a step back and say, what are you guys really saying, right? What is really the message here? And so there's a lot of pausing in my readings, a lot of listening and waiting for that message to come forward. But by using Angel Tarot or sometimes an Angel Oracle card, um, when some specific angel has a message, they will pop up. Literally, almost jump out of the deck. I'll have to say, and people who have done readings with me see this. It's like boom, it pops out of the deck.
That's really, really awesome. I have one more really loaded question, and then the rest of them are kind of like smooth. Okay, so I want to know, how do you navigate sessions with people who have Christianity trauma and or Catholicism
Ah, near and dear to my heart. Like I said, grew up with Catholicism.
trauma?
Um, I think the first thing that I tell them is organized religion is not spiritual. Organized religion is a business. It is a a business around what is should be, preaching the word of God, right? But it's a business. It has nothing to do with being spiritual. You can believe in Jesus and never go to church. You can believe in God and never go to church. You can go to church and be a horrible person and not be spiritual. It one has nothing to do with the other. And you can, being spiritual means connecting with your soul. We all have souls. Our souls are our essence that the Creator gave us. And being spiritual is feeding the soul. And so I try to, help them think through, when you're praying, how do you feel? Forget about the church, forget about any of the politics around it and all of that craziness. When you pray, how do you feel? That's being spiritual. Hold on to that. That is what you need to hold on to, not a particular church or doctrine or whatever. And I often do my meditations in church still because I find that that a church is a very calming, beautiful place to do your meditation and your praying in. Doesn't, so I do even encourage people. I actually have spiritual Jewish friends that go into churches because they find it more of a connection to spirit, just because, of what goes on at a church, all the praying and all the connection and love. So yeah, so I really first try to help them separate the politics and business of religion versus the praying, the spirituality of really feeding your soul.
Thank you so much for explaining that. That's the same thing I do in my session is I show them the truth of whatever deity comes in to help them connect. So again, thank you so much for explaining that because it just Christianity and Catholicism has had its way in harming the masses. And I think a lot of people, when they go in session and an ascended master connected with those religious beliefs comes in, they feel apprehensive or in danger. Um, so, like you said, I love showing them the true face of that religious person and being before we go into session so that they feel safer and know that I was going to say the creature, the being coming in is a safe one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you so much. Um, I want to ask you, do you have a prediction for the future? Like what you see or how you see the next wave of existence becoming, if that makes sense. Like,
hmm
what do you feel is going to happen in the world?
So, what I truly feel for the United States, since that's where I live, that's what I kind of feel. So, what I feel for the United States is a move, a big move to what I call localization and community. People connecting, governing, living, supporting local communities, and moving to where you want to live around people who are like you, and really going back to how the states were founded as a republic, right? Where each person takes care of each person more locally and not necessarily on the grand, global country perspective. I think you're going to see more people moving places to where they feel safer, where they feel more comfortable with people who are like them. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And you're going to certainly find that, as a republic, the United States was found that each state had their own way of doing things based on what kind of a state they were, right? If your main product is corn, you're going to have different priorities than if your main product is steel. And each state is is figuring out what they can and cannot do. And because we are free, if I don't like where I'm living, pick up and move. And I really think that that's what the future is going to be. It's going to be, people wanting to be their authentic selves in places where they feel safe to do so. And that's why I think we're also seeing now so many people moving from one place to another because they just don't want to be where they're at. And we're going to see more and more of that. And I think that that's a really good thing because we community is what we need as human beings to really feel connected to each other. And I think in the tech revolution that
Mhm.
we've been in, this sense of community has been blown up to what you've got on this, right? And that is not community.
Yeah.
So things like volunteering, things like growing gardens, things like, doing community outreach events, you're going to see more and more of that happening and more people participating as the way of the future. I think that's like thing number one. I think thing number two is going to be a redefinition of what it really means to be free. Um, And it's not really political even. It's just what I feel I need to be free versus what you feel you need to be free. Is it get out of my marriage? Is it, buy myself a house? Is it live in a camper? Is it, whatever? What do I need to feel free? And where can I do that based on who is governing and what the laws are? And I kind of think that it's, and I have lived through the 70s, the energy of the 70s. So I am old enough to remember what it was like in, early 70s. And I feel we are in that same energy right now because that was where people as individuals began to speak up to say, I need something different and I am going to find what I want. Because prior to that, no one moved away from home and everybody stayed where, their DNA relatives were. I mean, it was unusual for someone to have a family member to move. But that energy of individualism and true freedom and feeling loved in whatever way, people began to move to where they felt that they were going to be better. And I truly feel that same energy now that was back then. And that's kind of where I think we're moving as a society, particularly in the United States, particularly in the US. It's a little different outside of the US because our states are like countries in Europe or other, or other continents, and they can't freely move from one place to the other and still get work and whatever because they've got visas and all kinds of crap. I'm in Illinois. I can move from Illinois to Indiana to Wisconsin to Florida to Minnesota. Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
We can freely move about and find a place that we call home. And that's what I think the next couple of years are going to bring. You're going to see people very different places than they are now.
Thank you for that. So if people would like to work with you, how do they find you and reach out to you?
I make it really easy. My website is my name, JaquelineKuhn.com.
Mhm.
On my website, you will have access to services, some paid, some free. I have a Facebook group as well that you can join, and it's Jaqueline Kuhn, The Power of Five. But it's all under my name. There's not many of us with that name out there, so I'm pretty easy to find that way.
That's awesome. Okay, and our last question. Do you have a free gift for the audience today?
I do. So my free gift is a working with the Archangel guide,
Mhm.
and it's a PDF that's probably about 14 pages, all about the archangels, who they are, how to work with them, how to recognize them, a little bit of history about them. I encourage everyone to download it and begin to learn how to identify who they are and how to work with them. They're out there. They want you to work with them. You just need to ask.
That's really awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much for being a part of this and giving me an hour of your time today. I think it's been an hour. So thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful to have you. And that's gonna wrap up our interview.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're
Blessings
welcome.
to everyone.